Pandemic hysteria, vaccine mandates, vaccine passports. Thank God all that's over, right? Right? Yeah, did you think they'd give up all that power so easily? Globalist technocrats at the G20 are already preparing for the next pandemic.
So let's have a digital health certificate acknowledged by WHO if you have been vaccinated or tested properly, then you can move around.
Alright, so now it's admitted, and bear in mind people at the time were banned for saying this, that vaccinated people can still pass on the virus. Here it is from the NHS website, but they're already preparing for the next pandemic by greasing the skids for a WHO global health passport that will mandate vaccination in order for people to be allowed to travel. Can someone explain to me how that makes any sense at all? Unless the WHO health pass is just a permission slip to prove that you've complied with the narrative.
So for the next pandemic, instead of stopping the movement of the people 100%, which clogged the economy globally, you can still provide some movement of the people. Hopefully, for the next pandemic, we can still see some movement of the people, some movement of the goods, and movement of the economy.
Also note, despite the COVID pandemic being something completely unprecedented in our lifetimes, in our parents' lifetimes, even in our grandparents' lifetimes, they just talk like the next pandemic is an inevitability and it's right around the corner. That new normal sure came out of nowhere, didn't it? The official G20 Leaders Declaration also calls for COVID-19 certificates, or as you and I know them, vaccine passports. Article 23 states, quote, "We acknowledge the importance of shared technical standards and verification methods under the framework of the IHR to facilitate seamless international travel, interoperability, and recognizing digital solutions and non-digital solutions, including proof of vaccinations. We support continued international dialogue and collaboration on the establishment of trusted global digital health networks as part of the efforts to strengthen prevention and response to future pandemics that should capitalize and build on the success of the existing standards and digital COVID-19 certificates." Or in other words,
meet Lucy, student in psychology, and me, her digital ID wallet issued by the government. I can help governments to better communicate with citizens. Right now, I'm reminding Lucy of the appointment she needs to schedule for her mandatory vaccination.
These technocrats act like the last year plus of revelations about all this just didn't happen. And that's where Article 24 comes into play. The COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated the transformation of the digital ecosystem and digital economy. We acknowledge the importance to counter disinformation campaigns. Note how censorship of disinformation, which as we all know is a euphemism for criticism and scrutiny of their agenda, is an integral part of the planning process.
Dismiss anything else. We will continue to be your single source of truth.
Let's not forget that at one point, claiming vaccine mandates were going to come into force was called disinformation. Anti-vaxxers are terrified the government will enforce a vaccine for coronavirus. Fact check, COVID-19 vaccine won't be mandatory. They called that a conspiracy theory. Then it happened. Let's pause there for a word from the sponsor of this video. Lord Watson. That has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Well, now it's a reality. Yes, it's now official. I am now a lord. I own land in Scotland, and you could too. With established titles, you can take advantage of the Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lords or ladies. You can even change your name to lord or lady and get it on your plane tickets or credit cards. Need a last-minute table at that restaurant, but it's fully booked? Tell them you're called lord or lady, and you just might find they can accommodate you. Put it on your dating profile and watch your matches explode. Your certificate features a unique plot number with which you can see the exact location of your land. Title packs give you at least 1 square foot of dedicated land on a private estate in Edelston, Scotland. But it gets better. Established titles are committed to planting at least 1 tree for every order placed. So by buying a title pack, you're directly helping a genuine environmental cause, reforestation, supporting the fantastic work of One Tree Planted and Trees for the Future partner charity groups. With Christmas not far away, this also makes a great original gift.
God, yeah. Mother, call me Lord. You will be calling me Lord.
What were you gonna buy? Another boring pair of socks? You can also get couple packs that come with adjoining plots of land. And get this, the first 200 people who purchase a title pack using my link will effectively be located right next to my plot. We can be together in spirit. We can build a kingdom. We can reconquer Scotland for the English. Alright, maybe I'm taking it a bit too far. Established Titles is running a massive sale right now. Their early Black Friday sale gives you a huge 80% discount on title packs. Plus, if you use the code Lord Watson, you get an extra 10% off. Go to establishedtitles.com/Lord Watson to get your gifts now. And remember, by supporting my sponsors, you support me directly. Now back to the video. The WHO Health Pass is being readied in conjunction with other similar permission slips the technocrats will graciously grant you, just so you can go about basic life activities. Carbon footprint limits linked to purchases tracked and traced by government-controlled central bank digital currencies.
Where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
Oh, you've surpassed your limit for CO2 emissions this month. I'm afraid the payment for that plane ticket you booked to go and see your parents at Thanksgiving has been declined. Vancity just became the first Canadian bank to launch a credit card linked to carbon emissions. Australia's Commonwealth Bank launched a similar scheme last month, giving the customer the option to pay a fee to offset their carbon footprint. Voluntary for now, but what about in 5 years' time? The ultimate agenda was revealed by 4 environmental experts in the science journal Nature. Everyone would be issued with a carbon allowance card that, quote, would entail all adults receiving an equal tradable carbon allowance that reduces over time in line with national carbon targets. The authors make clear the program would be a, quote, national mandatory policy. Carbon units would be, quote, deducted from the personal budget with every payment of transport fuel, home heating fuels and electricity bills. And anyone going over the limit would be forced to purchase additional units in the personal carbon market from those with excess to sell. Meaning the super rich could easily afford to bypass the system completely and continue enjoying their opulent lifestyles without a care in the world. While you scrabble around for enough money to buy a carbon credit to keep the heating on.
Carbon is moving very quickly into a system where it's going to be very close to a currency.
The proposal makes clear that the means of measuring a person's uptake of carbon units for travel would function, quote, on the basis of tracking the user's movement history. The authors then celebrated the fact that COVID-19 pandemic contact tracing has greased the skids to eliminate what they call political resistance to this. Recent studies show how COVID-19 contact tracing apps were successfully implemented with mandatory schemes in several East Asian countries such as China, Taiwan and South Korea. They openly brag about how mass, unquestioning compliance with COVID lockdowns has laid the foundations for carbon credit restrictions. People may be more prepared to accept the tracking and limitations related to PCAs to achieve a safer climate as a result. These people aren't hiding what they're doing. It's all out there in the open.
What we have to confront is a deep, systemic and structural restructuring of our world. And this will take some time. And the world will look differently after we have gone through this transition process.
A sacrifice required for the future of the human race.
CBDCs will be linked to digital identities controlled by the government. If you've been a naughty boy or girl, said something offensive on social media, eaten a little too much red meat this month, not had your 16th booster shot, whoops, now your CBDC account is in the red. Can't afford to eat tonight? Well, you need a good behaviour credit top-up. And there's a handy vaccination centre right around the corner.